inflation is falling significantly to some 26.4% in November 2023 from the 35.2% recorded in October 2023. According to figures from the Ghana Statistical Service, food inflation was the major contributor to the decline in the rate of inflation. Food inflation also dropped by some percentage points, reason for which the Statistical Service has been providing some updates. Listen.
For November 2023, the Consumer Price Index stood at 198.2 relative to 156.8 that was recorded for the same time in November 2022. Consumer Price Index for the month of November 2023 stood at 198.2 relative to 156.8. Given these two indices for November 2022 and November 2023, year-on-year inflation for the month of November 2023 stood at 26.4. Year-on-year inflation for the month of November 2023 stood at 26.4%. This 26.4% signifies an 8.8 percentage point drop relative to the rate of inflation that was recorded for October 2023. In October 2023, rate of inflation stood at 35.2, and given the rate of inflation for November 2023, 26.4, we have seen an 8.8 percentage point difference between the year-on-year inflation for October 2023 and November 2023. This literally means that between the month of November 2022 and November 2023, general prices of goods and services went up by 26.4%. Between the month of November 2022 and November 2023, prices of goods and services went up by 26.4%. Month-on-month inflation, that is between October 2023 and November 2023, stood at 1.5%, signifying a 0.9 percentage point increase relative to the rate that was recorded in October 2023. In October 2023, we saw a decline from 1.9% to 0.6%. This decline that we saw from September to October 2023 has been reversed by a 0.9 percentage point increase between October 2023 and November 2023. From a trend perspective, we analyze the year-on-year inflation for November 2023 over a 13-month period, that is November 2022 to November 2023, and same is done for monthly inflation on a trend perspective for the 22-month period, that is November 2022 to November 2023. Since November 2022, we've seen the sharpest decline in year-on-year inflation over the 13-month period, with the sharpest decline recording a change of 8.8 percentage points between October 2023 and November 2023. For the fourth time in a row, we continue to see a decline in year-on-year inflation. Inflation started slowing down from July 2023. It slowed down to 40.1%, further slowed down to 38.1% and 35.2% for the month of September and October 2023, respectively. And for the month of November 2023, we've seen the steepest drop over the 13-month period.
Isaac Ofieje is data analyst here at joining us in studio with the latest we're hearing on the figures. 26.4% from, the complaints, numerous ones we've raised on this platform about how high that gone. 50 down to 40, 35.5 thereabout. Good news, isn't it?
Well, relatively good news. But where we want the rate to lead us to, probably we are not there yet. And if we are saying inflation is now 24.6% or 26.4%, it doesn't simply mean that prices are falling. It tells you that the rate at which prices are increasing, if you compare November 2023 to November 2022, it has actually slowed down. That is what this simply means. On a month-on-month level, where the real picture is, prices actually went up by 1.5%. So it tells you that between October 2023 and November 2023, we saw some marginal increase in the price level.
Right.
And if you look at it, the government statistician was trying to explain this for us to understand. And if you look at the data right from 2013, this is actually the lowest inflation in 20 months. Yeah. The lowest inflation in 20 months, where currently we are around 26.4%.
Yes.
At the disaggregated level, if you look at food inflation, for instance, is still above the headline figure of 26.4. Food inflation currently is around 32.2%, but not food inflation.
For this Christmas period, you don't want to be hearing about that.
We simply don't want to be hearing something about it. But there's good news. We've seen most of the big shops and the big organizations running promos.
Yeah.
So I am actually even anticipating that December inflation should come down a bit. We can see some of these seasonal factors influencing the December inflation. But importantly, when inflation is coming down, it is supposed to influence the policy rates, the MPC rates. But right now, we've seen policy rates around 30%. And once policy rate plus T-bill rates are all above or all around 30%, it tells you that banks are still going to charge their interest on their loans about 30%.
Right.
And that's problematic. Once we see the policy rate coming down alongside inflation, that is when the private person will begin to smile again, because now when they go to the bank, because T-bill rates are below, let's say 26 or 25, then it means that banks will be compelled to also drop their rates and you can get cheaper loans. But we can have inflation come down, but if it does not move along with the policy rate and then the T-bill rates, we surely wouldn't be at the point where we want to smile. But interestingly, anytime we have the inflation figures, we've been talking about our top 20 items.
Precisely.
That all
I
recorded
recall last year, some very interesting items were featuring on the list. No need to belabor that point, but let's look at what's featuring this time around on this very list.
So there's actually one item that has been on since the beginning of the year and is featured more than 6 times or 7 times, if my memory serves me right. That's dog meat. Dog meat is still
you don't
here
mean
again.
I see.
Well, it's here again. And yesterday there was a debate in Parliament around how the prices of fish is going up.
That was a concern from the minority side of the House.
It's here again. And then if you look at it, inflation for fish, sea fish is about 50%. That of herring, smoked fish, or amane is also about 50%. But let me run you through some of the top 20 items that recorded rates about 40 and 50%.
Okay.
Interestingly, tea bags actually in October was leading. It's still leading in November. Followed by country milk, prices are still very high. Carrot is still high. Ready-made clothing for boys. Yeah, this time around not for
ladies.
This time around not underwear for ladies, but rather ready-made clothing for boys.
But for the tea bag and of course the other item, it's heavily dependent on imports, and I guess that's why Peter has been raising the point about the associated impacts on forex and how our currency has been performing over the period.
In fact, it's good. If you look at the disaggregated data, we've seen that our import inflation isn't that high. For instance, last month, inflation on imported goods was somewhere around, it was a little bit above that. But this month, we are looking at 27.1%. It's above the national average. But inflation for locally produced goods is also around 26.1. All of them, except for locally produced goods, is below the headline.
And if you take a look at this, alongside the projected, inflation target by the end of year 2023, we seem to be inching closer. Yes. But will we meet the target?
Oh yes, it looks as if we are likely to meet the target because this significant drop in inflation, and then if you add the fact that big shops are not running promos in December. So we are anticipating that December inflation also drops significantly because prices it's a festive season. Everybody wants to sell. So we are hoping that the seasonal factors plus what we've actually witnessed currently will influence or will determine whether we will be able to reach that target. But there's something that I want to draw your attention to, which is, if you look at the whole inflation, there's this interesting donut chart or pie chart that we need to look at. So the Statistical Service looked at some 47,800 items. And among the 48.1% of these items all recorded a rise in price in the month of November.
I see.
So although the rate has dropped,
headline inflation might be down.
Exactly.
And yet if you go into the
disaggregated form, the items that we looked at more than 48%, close to 50% of these
that, yes.
items, all of them recorded a change in price, or just about 9.3% actually recorded
and
a
that's
reduction
why,
in
of
price.
course, I will be following up into the communities and also the marketplace to find out what the impact has been. Isaac Ofieji, thank you for the latest. We're also